for the final time this season, if it's Thursday night, say yeah, for it is the season finale of Strictly Sports College Football Thursday. Wow, I'm still trying to process that. I mean, I feel like we just started this thing, and now here we are already at the season finale. It's crazy. Hello, friends. Anthony Floyo here with you for the final installment of Strictly Sports College Football Thursday for this season already. I still can't believe it. Like I said, joined by good MF Michael Fletcher. We got Michael Bullock here as well, and this is going to be a great show tonight. We only have 8 games on the docket, seven championships, and unfortunately, one meaningless game somehow got thrown in there. I don't know how or why, but it did. Let's just say we're not going to waste too much time on that one. But 7 championships will be decided in top 25 action. There are other championship games, but they do not involve top 25 teams. But you know how we do it. We only do the top 25 stuff because if we do all the others, we'll be here all night and we don't have time for that. So, gentlemen, if we're ready to go without any further ado, here we go. Let's dive right on in to the first of our championship matchups, and we're gonna start with the game that will go down on Friday night, tomorrow night. Championship, 8 o'clock Eastern on Fox. It'll be the number 17 Utah Utes squaring off against the number 11 Washington Huskies at Levi's Stadium in San Francisco, outside of Santa Clara. And on the call for Fox will be Joe Davis, Brady Quinn, Bruce Feldman, Petros Papadakis, and the spread favors Washington. 5.5 to 6 is the spread for Washington. So without any further ado, get into this matchup here. A solid matchup between 2 9-3 teams that has nothing to do with the college football playoff. But that said, this would be Washington's second Pac-12 championship under their coach Chris Peterson, and Utah's first since joining the conference. In that sense, this is a very important game for both teams. A key matchup to watch is Utah's 5th-ranked rush defense, 100.3 yards a game, against Myles Gaskin, the hero of the Apple Cup, who put up 170 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns. Jake Browning should throw a touchdown or 2 in a game that won't be played in a snowstorm. So there's nothing for me really more to say here. I mean, I got to go with the Washington Huskies in this one. I mean, especially after what they did in the Apple Cup. I mean, they took down Washington, and who would have thought they would do that? So, especially with how great Washington State was playing. But just bear with me for a minute here. I mean, excellent defense carried both of these programs for much of the year. Utah is dealing with a couple of major season-ending injuries. The Utes are without their quarterback, Tyler Huntley, and their star running back, Zach Moss. And although Utah should again frustrate a run-focused attack, the Utes will not be able to overcome Washington's defense without a takeaway in prime scoring territory. So I'm going to go with the Washington Huskies to win this one. I'm going to say 24-14. I don't really expect this to be an exciting game, unlike some of the other ones we're going to be getting into. So 24-14, Washington over Utah. Nothing more to say. Good old MF. Michael Fletcher, come on in. Pac-12 championship, kicking off our championship week season finale of College Football Thursday. I can't believe it's already here.
Yeah, well, I'm going to say openly and honestly, this is going to be a very good matchup, a very good final, to say the very least. But Washington's probably the team that is definitely coming off a big win. You know, a lot of people had Washington State, you know, even though they had an outside chance of making the college football playoff, honestly, a lot of people kind of felt like Washington State would have needed literally to pull the inside straight to get to the championship, to the Final Four. and basically they dashed their own dreams right before their very eyes, losing that game. So not only does this Washington, not only is this a big game, the winner of this game between Washington and Utah, well, congratulations, guys, but you get yourself the ultimate ticket to the granddaddy of them all. The winner goes to the Rose Bowl. You're guaranteed a New Year's Six game. So this is more than just a big game. This is more than just a big battle. This is going to be an unbelievable uh, battle. But I think Washington will win it. They're coming off the hot hand, and I really think that they will get the job done and they will win this game. So give me Washington to win. Michael Bullock, I give it to you.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I think this will be a good one to start off the championship weekend in college football. I mean, it's still hard to believe that this is the finale of Strictly Sports College Football Thursday, but yeah, getting to this, I mean, I think Washington definitely has the momentum coming into this. I mean, I think Utah will hang in there for a while, but in the end, I just think Washington's just too good. I mean, and yeah, I mean, because whoever comes out of this the victor, not only is going to go to a New Year's Six bowl game, but a ticket to the granddaddy of them all, the Rose Bowl. So yeah, I expect Washington to come out of this a winner. Like I said, I think Utah will be in it for a little while, but Washington will pull it out in the end. And I'm going to say 27-17 is going to be my final. So nothing more to say, Floria. Let's get on to the Saturday portion of Championship Saturday, and let's just say the Red River rivalry is coming to the Big 12 title game.
I'm pretty sure this is the first time ever we're getting this twice in the same year. As Bullock alluded to, he's absolutely right. Oh boy. Oh. It was so great in the regular season, and who would have thought we would get it again? And guess what, guys? We're getting it again. Without question, this to me is the number 2 game of the week right here. The Big 12 championship game from AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, Jerry World. We have in this, I just want to make sure I have the numbers right. The number 14 Texas Longhorns squaring off against the number 5 Oklahoma Sooners. This will be on ABC. Sean McDonough, Todd Blackledge, Holly Rowe on the call. Oklahoma opening up as 8-point favorites. And good old MF Michael Fletcher, lucky you, man. You get to lead off on this one. Number 2 game of the week. First time ever. We're getting this twice in the same year. What are the odds? I mean, the Red River rivalry comes to the Big 12 championship in Jerry World, which is where the game should be from now on. That's just my opinion.
Well, I mean, there's other cities that actually does have a right to have the game. Just me, honestly, Reliance Stadium in Houston deserves it. I know they've done it at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City, the loudest stadium in all of the NFL. So no, even though I know Jerry World would be the best spot, and they've done the last 4 championship games in 2009, which at the time and where Texas won the championship, Oklahoma in 2010, and those 2 times that they faced off against each other, those were against Nebraska. Now Nebraska's in the Big Ten, and then in last year they were in Jerry World, and it ended up being Oklahoma crushing TCU in the final for the championship. So of course, like you said, Anthony, this is literally the Red River rivalry renewed, a rematch of the epic battle that was at the Cotton Bowl earlier in the year, that Texas won on a field goal at the buzzer. And now the big question becomes, what is going to be the standout moment? Who's going to rise up? Who's going to play? And who's going to be that team to really make the difference? Oklahoma right now is playing with a house money right now. They're literally one win away from possibly making the college football playoff. Now, that all depends on a lot of factors. Number one, Georgia has to lose to Alabama. We will get into that later tonight. Number two, normally you don't have to keep an eye on, but they're probably going to be scoreboard watching the Big Ten championship and Ohio State. We'll get into them later tonight. And one other thing, they just got to handle their business. Handle their business. Play with the power that they've been playing all season long. However, one big liability that we've noticed in the last few weeks, and I think it needs to be addressed, their defense is not as good as they used to be. And as a matter of fact, I think that 8-point spread that they gave Oklahoma, I think that's a little too generous. I think that number should be a lot more lower. And as a matter of fact, I'm gonna call it right here, right now. I got Texas winning the the Big 12 championship. I think Texas has the right formula of offense, the limited defense that they have, that they could actually hold Oklahoma to maybe 1 or 2 stops. And normally in the Big 12, 1 or 2 stops is actually good enough for a victory. You know it's going to be a high-scoring affair. We know the points are going to be plenty in this championship game. It's just who can make the key moments at the right times. And in the Red River rivalry, it was Texas that was able to figure out Oklahoma. They're gonna do it again. I'm sorry, D.D. Woodson. I'm sorry, Kevin Woodson. I'm sorry, Jim Ross, and everybody who's loyal to Oklahoma. It's gonna be hook 'em horns at AT&T in Arlington on Saturday afternoon. I got the Texas Longhorns winning the Big 12 title and messing up Oklahoma's dream of the college football playoff once and for all. 45-41, Texas wins the title. Michael Bullock, I give it to you.
Man, this is something. I mean, you got the Big 12 title game featuring the Red River rivalry. And like you said, first time ever that we're getting these two teams twice in 1 year, and we're getting it, but with a lot at stake. And for Oklahoma, I mean, like you said, they gotta win and hope for some luck to go their way, especially with regards to the SEC championship game, which we'll get, like you said, we'll get into later, because to me, whoever loses that game, it's going to definitely benefit Oklahoma if they can pull it out. So they just got to handle their business. That's the key. But you're forgetting another key thing here, Fletch, why some people think Texas could pull it off. It's almost like a home game for them because they are in Texas. So that's another reason there. And yeah, like, the defense for Oklahoma is not as good as it used to be, and that was the reason why Texas was able to pull it out against Oklahoma the first time in the Red River rivalry. So, and the Texas defense is better, and they could get about 1, maybe 2 stops that could definitely determine the outcome of the game. So, to me, I can't believe what I'm saying this. I'm gonna go with Michael Fletcher in this one. I'm calling for the upset as well. Texas wins 48-45, and they win the Big 12 title, and they will screw Oklahoma's chances of making it to the college football playoff. So Sorry, Oklahoma. You can kiss your chances of going to the college football playoff. Bye-bye. Anthony Florio, I know you're probably going to disagree with us, but who's taking home that Big 12 title?
Oklahoma has been given a rare, valuable second chance to avenge its only blemish of the season. A 48-45 thriller against Texas that saw Heisman candidate Kyler Murray turn the ball over twice. Texas will be without a full-strength Sam Ehlinger with a shoulder issue, who put up 386 total yards and 5 touchdowns the last time these teams met. That could be a deciding factor in this game, but at this point in the season, we have seen no sign Oklahoma even knows what a defense is, giving up at least 40 points in 4 games this year. If the Sooners want that final playoff spot, they can't just beat Texas. They have to show they can play every facet of the game. Texas turned 3 Oklahoma turnovers into 10 points in a game-stealing play in the regular season matchup. Texas Tech's 2 interceptions led to a 14-0 edge before the Sooners recovered to win 51-46. OU struggled to pull away from Kansas because of 2 giveaways. The blueprint to beating Oklahoma is winning the turnover battle. But I expect Kyler Murray and the Sooners to protect the ball and win a race to near 50 in the Big 12 title game. But at the end of the day, it is Oklahoma. Yes, I have to disagree with MF and Bullock respectfully. The Ehlinger thing, I think, is going to be the difference. He's not at full strength, but we'll see what happens. I would not be surprised if Texas stole it again, but I got to go with Oklahoma here to get their revenge. I say the final here. I'm going to go 49-41. Oklahoma beats Texas. So nothing more to say here. Remember when I said there was one meaningless game on our docket? Well, here it is. The number 23 Iowa State Cyclones squaring off against the Bulldogs of Drake. This will be on Cyclones TV with Brent Blum and MF's old friend Sage Rosenfels from the Miami Dolphins. And Iowa State a 42-point favorite. So I know this is not going to take long at all. Bullock, we know it's Iowa State, but just give a quick thought.
Yeah, I'm not going to waste any time. I got Iowa State winning big, so Florida, what's yours?
Definitely. I mean, I did have a small note on this. You expect a pass-focused offense from Drake since it averaged fewer than 100 rushing yards this season, while Iowa State ceded only 3.4 yards a carry. However, the Cyclones have allowed a completion clip of 69% with 7 touchdowns and 0 interceptions over the last 3 games. Iowa State's talent edge should eventually win out, but a hot start from Drake's aerial attack could make it interesting, but let's be realistic. It's Iowa State winning it. But I think it will be closer than the experts have it. I say 34-20, but Iowa State will win. So MF, a quick thought before we get back into our feast here.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Iowa State is definitely the more class team. I kind of don't understand why this game is actually happening. I know there's a few games that's kind of like that. That's out there. That's not really a big matchup, but yet they're posting it here on championship weekend. And of course, just as a side note, because this is the finale of college football Thursday. Of course, many people knows next week after this, it's the big one. It's Army versus Navy. So, I mean, yeah, so there's a big game feel with that battle, and already the battle lines are starting to be drawn on that playing field. So, this is just one of those where, I think there was a matchup set up earlier in the year, and then I think there was like a tornado or something that was threatening the area. That's why they moved the game out here to this week, because I think this was supposed to have gone down earlier in the season, but then I think it was like a tornado warning or some kind of inclement weather was coming into Iowa. and that's why they called a halt to the game. I think that's what happened, but I'm trying to double check that. But whatever the case may be, Iowa State wins.
Okay, so there's your meaningless game of the week right there. By the way, it'll be at Jack Trice Stadium at Iowa State, so forgot to mention that. All right.
Yeah,
and nonsense out of the way. Now let's
I read something here, guys. It did say it was supposed to be the season opener, but due to weather-related conditions, it had to be canceled. So
there you go.
So
mystery
that's
solved.
why it got moved.
Mystery solved. All right. So now let's get back into the business at hand. The rest of our top 25 championship matchups. We got 5 to go here, gentlemen. So let's get going here. 3:30 on ABC. It's the American Athletic Conference Championship matchup. The number 8 UCF Knights will be at home against the Memphis Tigers at Spectrum Stadium in Orlando. 3:30 kickoff over on ABC. And on that call, it will be Bob Wischusen, Brock Huard, and Allison Williams. And the spread favors UCF, or I should say UCF, only by 3. So that being said, let's dive on into this one here. Mackenzie Milton, UCF quarterback, is hurt. Yes, and was desperately needed in the team's shootout earlier this year, a 31-30 barn burner in favor of the Knights. How UCF responds to that injury will determine the outcome of this game. If the injury galvanizes this team, the Knights can have an impressive power run game between running backs Greg McCray and Adrian Killians Jr. to take the pressure off Darryl Mack Jr. That said, the Memphis Tigers have their own impressive back in Darrell Henderson, who ranks second nationally in yards at 1,699 and rushing touchdowns 19. That does not look good for a UCF defense that ranks 103rd nationally against the run and won't have Mackenzie Milton to help keep the game close. Since the College Football Playoff Committee senselessly dinged UCF's defense, it has ceded only 4.8 yards a snap. Now that a leg injury has sidelined quarterback Mackenzie Milton, the Knights desperately need the unit to limit a powerful Memphis offense. UCF will lean heavily on its running game to support Darryl Mack Jr. So there's really nothing more to say on this. Gentlemen, I'm calling for the upset. I'm going with the upset here. Memphis should have beaten UCF when they met earlier this season. How UCF pulled that one out, I'll never know. But Memphis, they should have won that regular season meeting. And with Mackenzie Milton's injury is going to be such a big, big difference. And it's because of that, I'm going with the Memphis Tigers to pull the upset in this American Athletic Championship matchup. 34-27, Memphis pulls the upset. How do you like that, MF? What do you say?
No, I can't disagree with that. I'm actually going with Memphis as well. Look, that Mackenzie Milton injury, if you saw it, it was horrible. That was one of the most terrifying injuries I've seen. It almost was reminiscent of Alex Smith's injury in the NFL. It was that bad, guys. It was a shattering of the leg. I mean, the leg is not supposed to go the way that went. It was a horrible injury. It's a scary injury. It's one thing you don't want to see in football, but sometimes that does happen. And it really demoralized the team. And you can tell the team was never really the same after that happened. So what happens now? What's going to be the ramifications? What's going to be the outlier here? You know, a lot of people believe that UCF has an outside shot of making the college football playoff. Now, I know. It looks impossible now, but if a couple of things goes their way and they win, maybe we talk about them getting an opportunity in the big game in the grand scheme of things, because now you're talking about, what was the one thing we always were talking about the whole time? Why on earth was UCF not getting the respect that they deserve? You know, they were an under Power 5 conference team. They were low, they're literally a mid-major, and yet the Power 5 is always getting the recognition, the credibility, everything else. They've been undefeated for 2 full years now, and here they are on the precipice of maybe getting an opportunity of a lifetime. And at the end of the day, one of their own gets hurt. One of their biggest stars, their MVP, and I don't think it's a Heisman candidate, no doubt, but he's an MVP type player, and he got hurt. Out of the game, out of the situation. It was a devastating blow to UCF. And Anthony, you're absolutely right. I believe this will open the door and it gives them the opportunity to move on and win. So for me, nothing more to say. It is going to be indeed Memphis winning, and UCF's 2-year reign as being undefeated will sadly come to an end, and it's a heartbreak because this is that team. They're like a Boise State. They're like they've really opened up a lot of people's eyes for the last few years. Obviously, I didn't believe the hype. I didn't jump on the train like Anthony Florio did, and now I just feel unfortunate because what they have done in the 2 years that they've been undefeated, look, there's nothing to sneeze at, man. And especially when you're a mid-major, man, that's a lot of respect. And I congratulate them for having one hell of a season. My hat's off to them. Unfortunately, they're going to lose to Memphis. Michael Bullock, I give it to you.
Yeah, I watched that UCF game against South Florida, and that injury to Mackenzie Milton was that was so gruesome. I even turned away. So, I mean, when he got hurt, they lost their leader and a man who was a dark horse candidate for the Heisman Trophy, but all their chances of possibly making the college football playoff, or you know what, they probably weren't even going to make it anyway, despite everything they've done. But this injury now opens the door for Memphis, and I think they're going to take advantage of the situation. I mean, it's been a great run for UCF, but unfortunately, I see it coming to an end as well. I got Memphis winning it. I'm going to say 28-24 is going to be my final score here. So there's really nothing more that really needs to be said here. So with that being said, Florio, I think we're on to our game of the week, and it'll definitely have implications on the college football playoff.
Major. Huge implications. This is basically a win and you're in situation. This is basically a winner-take-all matchup if you really think about it. Gentlemen, it is, without question, the most anticipated rematch maybe in the history of the sport. It's 4 o'clock on CBS, the SEC championship game. Your reigning, defending, undisputed college football playoff national champion and #1 Alabama Crimson Tide squaring off against the team they beat to win that championship, the #4 made in Georgia Bulldogs, in the very same venue that epic championship game in January took place, Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. Brad Nessler, Gary Danielson, Jamie Erdahl will all be there. And Alabama opening up as 13.5 to 14-point favorites. Now, MF, I've said this on our shows many of times. I definitely have to do it here. The immortal words of Jesse the Body Ventura from the Mega Powers exploding at WrestleMania 5. this is what the words main event were meant for. Because when it comes to this week, this is the main event. Brother, it don't get no bigger. It's winner take all. Nothing more to say except to the winner, you're in. The loser, barring miracles, you're out.
Well, in the case of Alabama, they're still in if they lose. For Georgia, this is everything. Ultimate revenge from the national championship game, solidifying your spot in the college football playoff, and more importantly, knocking off your biggest rival in the SEC in one of the biggest games of the year in the house that you lost it just less than a year ago. There's nothing more to say. You can't write a script like this. For Jake Fromm, he's been waiting since the second week in January for another shot at Nick Saban and Alabama Crimson Tide. And Tua Tagovailoa, who basically became the darling of the national championship game. He doesn't have Stephen Ridley on his side this time around, but he does have a great offensive line, a great receiving core, a very good run attack. But Jake Fromm also has a really good receiving core. The running backs not as deep as it used to be, but the one thing that Georgia has is they got that stout defense. Now, of course, Alabama also has an excellent defense, so it's basically a war of attrition. What can you expect, and what are you going to see in this kind of game? Obviously, teams that are hoping to see Alabama win is obviously Ohio State, Oklahoma, because if Georgia falls, one of these two is getting in. If Georgia pulls off the upset, guys, that basically seals the deal for Ohio State and Oklahoma. If Georgia wins, the Final Four is locked in my mind. It will be Clemson, Notre Dame, Georgia, and Alabama. And selfishly, here's the thing. If I'm thinking, and I'm going to be real honest with you, if I am one of the guys in the SEC, and if I'm an SEC guy, in the back of my mind, I would be thinking, you know what, Alabama? Take the dive. Lose this game. Because that means we get two SEC teams in the Final Four. And relatively speaking, that would be a great factor for us, to have two SEC teams than any other conference. That would cement us as the greatest conference in football right now. Nobody can debate that the SEC is the best. But Alabama has that pride because they are the defending national champions. And Anthony, you've always alluded to it, that they have that next victim mentality. The one problem is that next victim is probably Alabama's toughest test to date. They haven't played each other all year. And maybe that is a reason. Because let me say, when I thought of the one team that could beat Alabama in this type of instance, the first team that popped into my mind was the maiden Georgia Bulldogs. Not Notre Dame, not Clemson, not Michigan, not Oklahoma, not Ohio State. None of these teams has what it takes or has the team or the makeup that could knock off Alabama. Georgia does. The Bulldogs have the blueprint, and they had it when they were beating Alabama in the national championship game. If it wasn't for Tua Tagovailoa and some questionable play calling from Georgia in the second half, and some key missed field goals, oh, by the way, we would be talking about the Georgia Bulldogs being the national champions. not Oklahoma, not Alabama. So what do? You got to go back to the basics. Bring you what brought you to the dance. So what's that going to mean? It's going to be a close game. It's going to be a physical fight. It's going to be a war of attrition. But when it's all said and done, I just think Alabama is just too strong. Georgia's going to give them a fight. They're going to come wicked close. But Bama will hold off and they will win the SEC title. 31-27, Bama wins it all. Michael Bullock, I give it to you.
Yeah, this is good. This is going to be a good game as far as I'm concerned. I mean, with the rematch for the national championship, and Georgia's been thinking about it since January. I mean, they were this close to pulling off the biggest win in school history and becoming national champions, but some questionable play calling really cost them a chance to beat Alabama. But now they get another chance. And yeah, I mean, I think this is definitely going to be the toughest test for Alabama this season. Georgia is definitely going to give it their all, but to me, in the end, I mean, Alabama's just too good. I mean, Tua, I think, is going to have a solid game, not only throwing, but he may even do a little running as well. So, and I think the defense will make just enough plays to slow down Jake Fromm and the Maine and Georgia Bulldogs. 31-28, Alabama holds off and wins another SEC championship and locks themselves into the college football playoff. And for Georgia, it's going to be bye-bye for their chance at the college football playoff. Florio, it's yours.
The biggest game of championship weekend, bar none. Win and you're in. Lose and you're out. With all due respect, MF, yes, even for Alabama, barring chaos elsewhere. The Tide will look to attack the Bulldogs in several ways, but this will really come down to how Tua Tagovailoa plays against a secondary that ranks 14th nationally by giving up 175.1 yards a game through the air. Alternatively, can talented Bulldogs running backs DeAndre Swift and Elijah Holyfield pierce Alabama's front seven, which gave up several chunk plays on the ground against Auburn? Be on the lookout for Justin Fields as well. Dual threat quarterbacks have traditionally given the Tide fits, though it will be interesting to see if that holds on Saturday. All told, Georgia has the talent to hang with Alabama, but it will take a special performance to beat the Tide. For now, I don't see that performance coming on Saturday. I don't. Can the Dogs slow a rushing attack that averages 5.3 yards a carry? And if that happens, will they also contain Tua Tagovailoa, who's averaging 11.9 yards per attempt and has only 2 interceptions all season? Georgia has a chance if the SEC championship game is a low-scoring affair. But matching Tua's typical pace, highly unlikely in my book. So, I know MF and Bullock have it close, but I think it might be close for 3 quarters, maybe even into the fourth. But I think ultimately Alabama will pull away and win this one. I'm going to go 35-24. Alabama beats Georgia. And with that being said, since I have Alabama winning, you know what I have to do. Next victim. So if you're wondering where that's from, it's from a Hey Arnold episode that had a Chinese checkers type thing. And there was this character named Robbie Fischer, a play off of chess legend Bobby Fischer. And whenever he would beat his Chinese checker opponents in the tournament, he would always say, next victim. So that's where I got that from. So look it up. But nonetheless, Bama wins it 35-24. It's going to be something else. I can't wait to see it. It's going to be – that's appointment television right there, folks. That's a game you don't want to miss. So, all righty. Moving on. We're moving on now to the Mountain West championship game. 7:45 Eastern over on ESPN. The number 25 Fresno State Bulldogs squaring off against the number 22 Boise State Broncos. Albertson Stadium, Boise, Idaho. You know what that means? Smurf turf.
The Smurf turf.
We get the Smurf turf once again. Yes, sir. And on the call for that one will be Steve Levy, Brian Greasy, Todd McShay. They'll be on the Smurf turf for that one. And Boise State opening up as 2.5 to 3-point favorites. So, Michael Bullock, we started with you here. Definitely the advantage with Boise. 2.5 to 3
Doesn't Fletch lead off on it?
I thought MF led off on the last one. MF led off.
Did you lead off on the last one, MF?
And MF did the last one, Bullock. It's you.
All right. Yeah. Thought I was a little confused at first. So
as I was saying, Bullock, Boise State 2.5 to 3-point favorites. They're at home on the Smurf turf. They had a huge win against Utah State last week to win that division. Can the original darlings of college, the original Cinderella darlings, can they do it again?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Boise State definitely got some momentum with getting a win over Utah State last week to seal the division and lock them up into this Mountain West title game. And yeah, and they're of course led of course by Brett Ripien and Alexander Madison, and of course Boise State of course has won the last two matches between these two, including a 17-14 victory in the Mountain West title game a year ago. So, and they will have of course that advantage. Of course, the winner could be in line for the guaranteed Group of 5 berth in one of the top 6 bowl games if of course UCF falters. But yeah, so definitely a lot of things could happen for either one of these teams. But I do think the Smurf having the home field advantage with the Smurf turf, I think will definitely be an advantage for Boise State. I got them winning this one 28-24. Boise State beats Fresno State, wins the Mountain West Championship, and guys, in Thursday Night Football, we got an upset. The Dallas Cowboys have beaten the New Orleans Saints 13-10 and end the Saints' 10-game winning streak. And I'll tell you what, I think we need to start taking the Dallas Cowboys seriously, Florio.
Oh, you kidding? Look what they just did. Wow. Unbelievable. That's 4 in a row for them. I mean, now don't get me wrong. Since our NFL power rankings date back to last week, New Orleans technically will be
they'll still be number 1, but that's going to end come next week.
Oh, next week. They're going down. Not too hard because they only lost by 3. But
yeah, we're not going to punish them too much since they only lost by 3.
I mean, I could see them only maybe, depends. No,
number 2, number 3.
Hold, because it also depends on what Kansas City does. It also depends on what the Rams do. They could fall a good 2-3 spots here. I mean, top 3 definitely, but it also depends on New England. It also depends on some other teams. I mean, they could fall. I could see them, depending on what happens here, they could fall to the 4-5 spot in my mind. But
like you said, Fletch, I mean, it all depends on the outcome of Sunday's games.
Yeah. So
big time.
But big win for Dallas. Huge win for Dallas. That's
4 in a row now.
And not only that, that's a monumental moment for them because look, you're in a dogfight in the NFC North, in the NFC East, and a win like that could actually that might have been the moment that might make us believe that Dallas could win the division. It did for me.
And they
I
could be
got
a
Dallas
title.
winning it all now. I got Dallas as the NFC East champs when it's all said and done.
I wouldn't be
And-
surprised. And
Yep.
I'll tell you what, guys, right now. I'll tell you who's going to be eating some crow right now. Someone by the name of Stephen A. Smith, or as I like to call him, Stupid A. Smith, because he was going around this morning dressed up as a cowboy in an All Saints cowboy outfit, basically running all over the Dallas Cowboy fan base, saying, "You guys suck. Your team sucks. The Saints are going to run all over them." Yeah, how's that prediction of yours now, Stupid A. Smith?
Yeah, how'd that work out for you, big boy?
Yeah, it didn't work out pretty good for him because, big win. But the thing is, Dallas plays those moments. It doesn't matter if it's a Thursday night game, a Sunday night game, a Monday night game. A lot of times, Dallas answers the bell when it's a nationally televised game. He should have known that. He should have known. And normally, the Saints are never good away from the dome. When they're away from the Superdome, sometimes these things tend to happen. If this was in New Orleans, open and shut case, Saints crush them.
Indeed.
But
boy, I'll be interested to watch First Take tomorrow morning and hopefully see Stephen A. Smith eat some humble pie.
I don't think he is, but I'll tell you one thing. Undisputed.
Well, he better.
I'm going to say this. Undisputed on FS1. Oh my God, Skip Bayless is going to be uncontrollable tomorrow.
Impossible.
He is going to be impossible.
Guys, could you imagine if Skip Bayless was still on First Take and him and Stephen A. were in the same building? Oh my goodness, he would be running all over Stephen A. Smith.
That would be a 5-star. That would be a 5-star verbal exchange waiting to happen.
Oh yes.
So, but anyways,
yeah. So what do you think of your prediction now, Stephen A. Smith?
Let's get back to college football, man. We'll get into that tomorrow. Damn.
Yeah. Tomorrow, NFL Friday.
Yeah, let's get to your prediction, Florio, of the Mountain West title game.
Yeah. Man, you guys were stealing my moment there. I was trying to, get into this, and then we got into all that stuff. So, yeah. So 4 in a row for Dallas now, and all against great teams. Atlanta, Philly, Washington, and now New Orleans. Unbelievable. But New Orleans will be number 1 tomorrow. But next week, we'll have a new number 1. But that's next week. But right now, back to this. In this series history, Fresno State is 1-10 when on the road at Boise State. The only victory happened all the way back in 1984. Streaks can end. This streak could end. We'll see. Fresno State had an uncharacteristic collapse in the second half of the regular season game, and it won't happen again if the Bulldogs are more efficient on third down in this Mountain West title game. They were 2 of 10 compared to 10 of 16 for the Broncos back on the 9th of this month. This is the team's 4th meeting over the last 2 years, with the Broncos holding a 2-1 edge over the Bulldogs. This is also a rematch of last year's Mountain West Conference title game. Simply put, this is turning into one of the most fun matchups to watch in the group of 5. Boise State won this year's matchup 24-17, so you can expect the rematch to be close too. I just can't pick against Boise, who came off an impressive win over 10-2 Utah State, and who also have some of the group of 5's best in quarterback Brett Rippon and running back Alexander Madison. So nothing left for me to say. I got Boise State winning as well. Just a smidge lower than what Bullock had it. I'm going to go 27-23. Boise State over Utah State. Now, if this was in Fresno, I probably would have gone with Fresno. But with this being on the Smurf turf, and considering Fresno's only won there once, and that was 34 years ago, no way. 27-23, Boise wins. Nothing more to say, MF. The original Cinderella Darlings looking to, make another run here.
Absolutely. Boise State, if they win this game, I believe that should get them close enough where they could make a New Year's Six. It also depends on what happens with UCF, because I think the criteria is you got to be in the top 15 in the college football playoff, and you have to be a conference champion of a mid-major or a under Power 5 conference. I think we could check both that off for Boise State if they win. If Boise State wins because of their record and everything else, I think that would put them in line for a New Year's Six game. Now, obviously, they won't make the playoff because they're way too far away. But I think because of the fact that the non conference games this year is the Sugar Fiesta, the Cotton, and the Rose, but normally the Rose Bowl normally tends to go to the Big Ten and Pac-12 winners. Whoever those two teams are, normally those two teams normally end up going in the Rose Bowl. There's a chance Boise State, if you win and actually do get selected for the college football New Year's Six, Anthony, could you say hello Glendale again and the Fiesta Bowl?
And we know what happened the last time they were there now, don't we?
Mm-hmm. Don't we all remember what happened when they were in there?
The second biggest upset in college
football. I was just going to say,
second.
All they did was just pull off, like you said, the second greatest upset in history by beating the Oklahoma Sooners. And, of course, that moment we'll never forget when I think it was it Ian Johnson that proposed to that cheerleader?
Yeah.
And Tom Brenneman. And don't forget Tom Brenneman going nuts, which was awesome.
His greatest work ever, the hook and ladder, the Statue of Liberty play to win the Fiesta Bowl. I mean, Dede Woodson is probably going to want to take each one of us into the woodshed and beat the living crap out of us for bringing that up. But hey, it happened. Sorry, Dede, but we don't.
And I think the game's like on YouTube.
You can find it. You can find it.
So
it's still there.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna say, like, if anybody wants to relive that, you definitely got to go check it out.
It is without a doubt the greatest college football game I ever saw. Well, like Anthony said, one of the biggest upsets in college football history, and it's that's not even the number one upset.
Nope.
That's not.
Now we know what that is now, don't we?
Go ahead.
I hate to say it.
Go ahead.
Appalachian State over Michigan in 2007, week 1.
Yeah. I'll openly admit it. That was. But, like we said, in the bowl, in the BCS era, or in bowls era, this was the biggest upset ever. Nobody saw this coming. Nobody saw this coming. If I remember correctly, Oklahoma was what? 2-3? I think they were like a 2 or 3 touchdown favorite going in. If I remember correctly, going into that game, because nobody really gave Boise State a chance in that game.
I was just gonna say. I mean, going into that game, nobody was giving Boise State any chance whatsoever.
No,
and they basically came out and said, "Oh, you don't think we have a chance? Well, watch us."
Yeah,
and look at what they did.
I remember. And if I remember correctly, Anthony, I knew you say that Boise was going to give them a run. I don't believe you called for the victory, but I know you said that Boise was a really exciting team. You were very high on them, but I think you said that Oklahoma was going to win, but by very narrow margin. I think you said by 3 or 7 points. I know I called for Oklahoma to crush them, so I definitely got it wrong.
Believe it or not, I found it on Wikipedia. it said that Oklahoma was only favored by 7.5.
Oh, okay. I guess the prognosticators actually was giving a lot of love to Boise that time.
That's what I have.
All right.
So,
well, then that's probably right. I'm not going to question that. Wikipedia normally is pretty accurate to the point. So, yeah. But, yeah, at the end of the day, we'll wait and see what happens. And I believe Boise State will win this game. Nothing more to say. Anthony Floyo, let's move on.
2 games left, and we move on to the ACC championship game. 8 o'clock Eastern on ABC. The number 2 Clemson Tigers squaring off against the Pittsburgh Panthers at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, North Carolina. Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit, Maria Taylor. Don't be surprised if Tom Rinaldi gets added to that crew, considering the magnitude of this game. That's just my thought on it, but we'll see. Clemson opening up as huge favorites here, guys. I think next to, Iowa State in that meaningless game against Drake, Clemson, I do believe, is the biggest favorite of championship week. Oh my goodness. They're favored by 27.5 to 28. They're just about 4 touchdown favorites. So, oh man, getting into this. There's not much to say in this one. Number 2 Clemson's ACC title game against Pittsburgh is little more than a formality for the Tigers' 4th straight playoff appearance. Even though the Panthers did manage to beat the national title team in 2016, 43-42 in Death Valley, Trevor Lawrence should get some more valuable experience against the woebegone Pitt defense, and Travis Etienne and Tavian Feaster should keep up their impressive seasons as well. Will the Tigers be able to shore up its pass defense before the playoff? Only time will tell. But nonetheless, absolutely nothing on paper suggests Pitt will compete with Clemson in the ACC title game. The only reason to give the Panthers the benefit of the doubt is their historical penchant for sticking with top competition. But Pitt is heavily reliant on its running game for success on offense, and Clemson leads the FBS with a mere 2.2 yards allowed per carry. There's nothing more to say. Clemson rolls in this one. 49-20, all Clemson, all the time. So, MF, do I hear a 4th consecutive CFP appearance for Clemson?
I say yes. I there's no doubt about it. Clemson is just an unbelievable team, man. They're a juggernaut. Defensively, I think they're even better than they've been in the last few years. You just talked about it. That run defense, they only give up only 2 yards per carry. That means if you're in first down or second down and you're only getting 2 yards, maybe a yard, that means you're in 3rd and long, 6-7 yards. And that means you get that linebacking crew and the secondary to ratchet up, man. It's going to be a long night for the Pitt Panthers. Look, they're going to play tough because, they always like to pull the surprise. There's always a moment where they're going to stun somebody. But when it comes to an opportunity at the college football playoff and the elite stats that they are, my God, man, Clemson is just a notch above the rest. Last year we thought Miami was going to give them a little bit of some trouble because of, with that defense and the turnover chain, and Clemson absolutely hammered them into submission in that game. I think it's going to be another one, something like that. 42-17 is my score. Clemson hammers Pitt and wins the ACC title. Michael Bullock, I give it to you.
Yeah, like you said, everything about Clemson is just really good. So there's really nothing more to say. I got Clemson beating down on Pittsburgh big time. So with that being said, Florio, let's move on to our final game overall of Championship Saturday, and comes from the Big Ten.
Indeed it does. Our final game of the week and of our season here. The Big Ten Championship game, 8 o'clock Eastern on Fox. It is the I believe they are the number 21 Northwestern Wildcats squaring off against the number 6. Yep, it is. Number 21 Northwestern Wildcats squaring off against the number 6 Ohio State Buckeyes, Lucas Oil Stadium, Indianapolis, Indiana. The A team of Fox will be there. Gus Johnson, Joe Klatt, the All-American girl, Jenny Taft, and Ohio State opening up as 14.5 to 15-point favorites. No surprise here. Now, MF, I know when you got word of what happened last week, I know you went into immediate cerebral viper mode, and I wouldn't blame you. Highest scoring game in the history of that game, I'm pretty sure. A combined 101 points. But hey, Michigan guys, all hope is not lost. You're actually going to be rooting for Ohio State to win this Big Ten championship, one. And then with a little more help, Ohio State could get in the playoff, and Michigan could still find their way into the Rose Bowl. Not a bad consolation.
No, that would not be a bad consolation, but to root for Ohio State? Are you kidding me, Florio?
No.
Admit it, you went into cerebral viper mode after what happened last week.
Oh my God, I absolutely blew a gasket. But, it is what it is. Congratulations, Ohio State. You got us. You beat us, and you humiliated us. There's really nothing more to say about that. Yeah, it was a bad loss. It was a humiliating defeat.
Two words come to mind. Under siege. Well,
you can call it under siege, whatever you want to call it. They kicked our tails. That's all that matters. Like you said, we need a couple of things to go our way, and possibly that'll give us an opportunity to make it to the college football, to the New Year's Six, and maybe that gives us an at-large moment, and maybe we get selected as the Big Ten representative to play against the Pac-12. We're gonna have to wait and see. So who knows? If that does happen, but a lot of things have to happen, like you said. Maybe Oklahoma loses to. I know one thing for sure. There's only two ways that this happens, and I'm going to be real honest with you. Oklahoma has to lose to Texas, and Alabama has to knock out Georgia. If that happens, that opens the door for Ohio State to sneak in, and then for Michigan, this might be the perfect storm that they would need, because with Ohio State winning, that vaults them up to the top 4, and they're automatically in the playoff. And with Oklahoma losing, maybe with UCF losing to Memphis, and with Georgia losing, that would give Michigan an opportunity to sneak in the number 5, number 6. That's an automatic bid. You're in. You're gonna play a New Year's Six game, and I know for the fact that the Rose Bowl, like I said, they always love to have a Pac-12 Big Ten matchup. Anthony, you just gave an opportunity for Michigan to possibly get in there, and well, we're going to have to wait and see who we play. We're probably going to have to play the Pac-12 champion, whoever that may be. Either that will be Washington or that would be Utah. So we've never played against Utah before, if I remember correctly. I mean, in a bowl game, if I remember correctly. And I don't think we've played Washington either. I think this would be first time against either team. So maybe I'll have to do my research, but I think Ohio State will win it. They're gonna want to make a statement. They made a statement with Michigan. They're gonna want to make a statement against Northwestern. I think they're gonna do it. Yeah, nothing more to say. I got Ohio State winning the Big Ten Conference. Michael Bullock, I give it to you.
Yeah, and what can you say? I mean, yeah, it sucked for me to see Ohio State basically squash my other team in Michigan, but hey, they made a statement, and Haskins, the quarterback, certainly made a statement for himself. I mean, maybe he secured his spot in the, for the Heisman Trophy. So we'll just have to wait and see. I mean, especially with this game, but yeah, I mean, you guys pretty much said everything. I mean, I got Ohio State winning this one. They're going to win the Big Ten championship, and then they're going to have to really get some help to if they want to get into the college football playoff. So yeah, so there's really nothing more that needs to be said. Florio, I give it to you.
2 weeks ago, we might have entertained the notion Northwestern could keep up with the Buckeyes. That changed after Ohio State's 62-39 victory over hated arch rival Michigan, which boasted the statistically best defense in the country prior to the meeting. Ohio State's skilled players are too numerous and too talented for Northwestern to keep up, especially considering Dwayne Haskins, who last Saturday broke a Big Ten record with 42 passing touchdowns this season, getting them the ball. This game, coupled with the Oklahoma-Texas rematch, will force the biggest question for the playoff committee come Sunday if the chalk holds elsewhere. Northwestern has forced multiple turnovers in 3 of the last 5 games and boasts the nation's 10th best red zone defense. If there's an upset brewing in Indianapolis in the Big Ten championship game, the Wildcats need to steal 2 possessions and shut down Ohio State inside the 20-yard line. That's a tall order opposite a Buckeyes offense that has rediscovered its efficiency. So nothing more to say. I got Ohio State winning this one. Final score for me, I'm gonna go 45-27, Ohio State over Northwestern in the Big Ten championship game. And for the record, MF, Michigan, and Washington have played. They played a total of 12 times. Four times they've met in the Rose Bowl. Mm-hmm. They have met in the Rose Bowl before, 4 times. 1978, Washington won it, 27-20. 1981, Michigan, 23-6. 1992, Washington won 34-14. And then in 93, the following year, Michigan won 38-31. Their last overall meeting was week 1 of the 2002 season in the Big House, and Michigan won a 5-star classic of a game, 31-29. Now, in just a moment, I'm going to quickly look up and see if actually, yes, they've played Utah as well, MF. They've met 4 times, and Utah leads the all-time series 3-1. Michigan leads the Washington series 7-5. Michigan won the first meeting in 2002, September 21st. That was a 10-7 win over Utah, but then Utah's won the last 3 meetings. 2008 in the Big House, 25-23. Utah won again in 2014, 26-10. And then the last meeting, 2015, in Utah, Utah won 24-17. So,
but they've never faced each other in a bowl game.
Not in a bowl game. But you have played Washington in 4 Rose Bowls.
Yeah.
And you split 2-2. So there's your history lesson for the evening. Yes? Well, I thought MF was going to say something more. So, all right. Let's get into our final power poll of the season, and I'm ready to go. I got it all set up. I had a little downtime earlier, and I got this all set to go. So there are some changes, obviously. Not 1, but 2 dud teams. Of course, the first dud, obviously, and I'm sorry, MF and Bullock, it's obviously Michigan. They're out. And Washington State is also out. So those are my 2 duds of the week. Actually, I have 4 duds. Michigan and Washington State first and foremost. LSU, after losing the greatest regular season college football game in history. Did you hear about this, guys? 74-72. It's 7 overtimes. Oh my goodness. 74-72 and 7 overtimes. Wow. You're never going to see a regular season game like that ever again. That was not a 5-star classic. That was a 100-star classic. Let's not kid ourselves. And my final dud is Utah State because I had them at 10. They lost to Boise, so they're gone. So that's it. So let's dive on in. Number 10 for me, the Florida Gators. And to quote Chip Patterson, nothing about Saturday's game looked like a rivalry where the team in Garnet had the upper hand. No, it didn't. The Gators broke a 5-game losing streak to Florida State. Coach Dan Mullen was absolutely successful, going 9-3 in his first season back with the Gators. So nothing more to say on that. So my number 10, Florida Gators. MF, how about it?
I can't disagree with that. I think Florida absolutely dominated what they were had to do. They handled their business as fittingly as they were, and yeah, no, this was a tremendous job. I mean, you cannot deny what they did. Like I said, you got to handle your business. You got to handle what you got, and they absolutely just took them to town and crushed them in so many facets of the game. It was well deserving of the victory, and hats off to Florida. They handled their business. They handled it in style. That's as good of a performance that you could do. Nothing more to say. And Michael Bullock, I give it to you.
Yeah, I agree. The Florida Gators are my number 10 as well, so there's really nothing more that needs to be said. Let's move right along to number 9, and Fletch, you lead it off.
Well, all right. I guess if we're going to talk about impressive performances, I guess in the top, in the last week or so, the one team that, I got to talk about, and, maybe I'm going to get a little bit of flack for this, or maybe not. I don't know. It depends on how people are feeling. I got to put the Washington Huskies here. Look, 28-15, they absolutely went into against their crosstown rivals, Washington State, and handled their business. They played a great game. Josh Browning, absolutely not the most amazing performance of the game, but Myles Gaskin, oh my God, where did you come from, my friend?
In the snow, nonetheless.
In the snow. It was a winter wonderland, a little early, but it was a winter wonderland in Washington State. I didn't think it snowed up there. I guess it did. It did that night, and they looked very, very impressive. Yes, and it makes Anthony Florio happy because he loves that winter wonderland stuff. Yeah, but anyway, Washington, my number 9. Nothing more to say. Michael Bullock, I give it to you.
Yeah, I got the Washington Huskies as my number 9 as well. So, so there's really nothing more that needs to be said. So, Florio, I pass it on to you.
It's a slight disagreement. You almost had an MF. I got Washington just a smidge higher, but you almost had it, almost, but not quite. My number 9 is the Texas Longhorns. I mean, this is why Tom Herman was brought to the 40 acres. The Longhorns are playing for a championship in Herman's second season. If the Horns win the Big 12, they will sweep Oklahoma in a season for the first time ever. And of course, we all know up next, the second Red River rivalry showdown in the Big 12 championship, Saturday afternoon, high noon. Oh my goodness, I can't wait. I'm getting excited thinking about that. So, Texas Longhorns, number 9. Number 8, this is actually where I have the Washington Huskies. For the first time this season, an opponent stifled Mike Leach's offense. Okay, the snow in Pullman had something to do with it, but the result endures. The Huskies are back in the Pac-12 championship game because of the heroics of Jake Browning and Myles Gaskin. And up next, redemption after a subpar season by UW standards. So, Washington comes in at number 8. So, maybe this will be the only disagreement. I don't know. We'll see. But at least for this spot, it is. Washington is number 8 in my book. So, MF, who do you have at 8?
All right. I guess because you talked about how Texas was your number 9. This is actually where I had Texas at number 8. So we kind of did a flip flop here, Anthony. Uh, this is just where I had to put Texas here because it was fair enough. They did a great performance. I don't think it was the most perfect performance, but it was a great performance nonetheless. So for me, Texas is number 8. Michael Bullock, I give it to you.
Yeah, Texas is my number 8 as well. So yeah, I mean, there's nothing more that needs to be said. Let's just move right along to number 7, and Fletch, you lead off.
All right, this one was really an interesting dilemma. Unfortunately, the what happened here was a bad situation. Well, no, it's not going to be a bad situation. My number 7, Oklahoma Sooners. I got to put Oklahoma here. Look, not the most glamorous victory, not the most dominant, but they did win the game. They survived 59-56 over a very gallant effort by West Virginia. I mean, Will Grier. I mean, holy cow, what a night he had. 539 yards, 4 touchdowns. I mean, and Oklahoma still found a way to win. They deserved the victory. They played with their heart. They played focus. They had the best moxie, and the reason why I'm not putting them any more higher is because I believe the remaining teams are all college football playoff bound teams, just in my mind. So nothing more to say. Michael Bullock, I give it to you.
Yeah, I got Oklahoma as my number 7 as well. So yeah, there's nothing more that needs to be said, Florio. I give it to you.
Sorry, guys, I got to disagree. I have to go with UCF at number 7, and it's because of the injury, McKenzie Milton. That's the reason. Yes, they had a second straight. Well, here it is. A second straight undefeated regular season was marred by the injury to quarterback McKenzie Milton. The Knights just will not be the same without him. That doesn't mean they can't get to the Fiesta Bowl or even the college football playoff. Up next, Memphis in the American Athletic Conference title games. So I'm sorry, gentlemen. With all due respect, I have to disagree with that one. UCF is 7. Moving on to number 6, and this is actually where I have Oklahoma. Oklahoma Sooners are my number 6. Please stow your criticism of the Big 12 football culture. Oklahoma stayed alive in the playoff and Big 12 races after allowing 56 points to West Virginia. Concentrate on the fact that OU is able to score 59. We are in an age when good offense almost always beats good defense. And up next, of course, the epic rematch with Texas in the Big 12 championship. So, slight disagreement again. UCF is my 7. Oklahoma is my 6. Was it another flip-flop, MF?
It was another flip-flop, but I really am a little annoyed with you, Anthony Florio. I just don't understand. I don't understand how you could punish UCF because of an injury. And on top of that, they handled their business, where Oklahoma just barely got by. That is an absolute annoyance that I have with your decision making. But it is yours. It is your decision. I'm not gonna. I can only just say how I feel about it, but that doesn't mean you have to change it because I'm annoyed about it. So no, you're entitled to your own opinion, but I'm just saying I'm annoyed about it. That's all I'm saying. I'm annoyed. So obviously, UCF deserves to be higher. They deserve it. They played next to perfect football. Yes, the McKenzie Milton injury is a major factor, but I don't factor that in at all because of the fact that because if we're ranking the 10 best teams of the week, I don't understand how Oklahoma is not even lower than where they are right now. but that's just my personal opinion alone. So it is an agreement. It is another flip flop. My number 6 is UCF. Michael Bullock, I give it to you.
Yeah, I find that a little annoying too. That UCF to me is number 6. I mean, I just don't get how you could punish UCF because of the Mackenzie Milton injury. I mean, I just think
That's
that's
wrong.
completely.
Right. I was wrong to do that.
It's completely
You're absolutely
stupid.
right.
But it's your opinion, Florio. You
But
don't
it's your
need to
opinion,
change
Florio.
It's going
You don't need
forward.
to change it.
I'm thinking about going forward. That's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
It's not
Yeah,
because
but
of
still,
the injury. I'm just thinking about going forward. That's it.
I know that, but that was last week. I mean, they handled their business.
Understandable. But if you want to call me out, go right ahead. I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, if this happened in the conference championship game and they lost big time, then okay, I get it. But to me, that's just that just rubs me the wrong way. So
I'm sorry to do that. I didn't mean to do that.
So UCF is my number 6. So let's just move right along to number 5.
And I guess
now that we got all that gratuitous BS out of the way, let's move on.
Number five, Notre Dame. They got to be here. Look, they only barely survived over USC, and with the remaining 4 teams that handled their business, there's no doubt in my mind that Notre Dame deserves to be at number 5. Yes, they're going to be in the college football playoff. They're undefeated. You cannot take that away from them. They are guaranteed in. They're in. They're in there. There is no ifs, no ands, no buts. There's a special decree by the committee that if Notre Dame was a one-loss team or was undefeated, they are automatically in the college football playoff regardless of what happens. They don't play any more games, so their lasting impression was against USC. Even though it wasn't the most impressive victories, and it wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
They deserve to be where they're at. They're going to be in the playoff. Now the question is, are they playing in the Cotton Bowl, which is going to be at Arlington, or are they going to be going to Miami and the Orange Bowl? Because it's one of those two. They're going to go to one of those two, and they're going to play on December 29th.
Yep.
In one of those 2 games. That's all that you need to know. Number 5 is Notre Dame. Michael Bullock, I give it to you.
Yeah, my number 5. I have the Fighting Irish as well. I mean, they barely just got over USC. I mean, they couldn't. I mean, they almost let one get away, but they did survive. And they did go undefeated. We can't take that away from them. But you had to basically do your job, which they did, but they almost blew it. So number 5 is Notre Dame. They're locked into the college football playoff. Florio, what's yours?
You probably heard me say what? I'm like, I can't believe these guys actually agree with me. I actually punished my own team. It's hard to believe. But I dropped Notre Dame down to number 5 as well. Honestly, they should have gone maybe a little bit lower, to be honest with you. That was a putrid performance against USC. Guys, you were supposed to put them under siege. But instead, you almost let them put us under siege, for goodness sakes. I mean, I was like, oh, God, this is turning into that Miami game from last year all over again. To say I would, in the immortal words of Alfred E. Newman, what, me worry? At that moment, you damn right me worry. But somehow, they found a way to get it done. Turning point of the game was when Ian Book made that 3rd down run and took that big hit. Yeah, that's what got him going. And that was it. So I can't believe these guys agree with me. I mean, I thought I was going to be all alone on this one. But yeah, you guys nailed it. Number 5 is Notre Dame. You're absolutely right. Yes, the Irish became the first team to unofficially clinch a playoff berth. A closer than expected 24-17 win over USC revealed the best and worst of the Irish. JT Daniels torched Notre Dame in the first half. The defense and athleticism took over in the second half. And up next, waiting for their name to be called this Sunday at high noon on ESPN for that big Selection Sunday college football playoff show. So that's all there is to say on that. Notre Dame is number 4, exactly right. That's what they deserve to be. So let's move on to number 4. There's no doubt about this one in my mind. It's the maiden Georgia Bulldogs. A beatdown of Georgia Tech raised an interesting question. Jake Fromm just threw a career-high 4 touchdowns. Doesn't Justin Fields have to transfer because Fromm isn't leaving? Well, we'll see. Up next, the SEC quietly hoping for 2 teams in the college football playoff with a Georgia win on Saturday. So, maiden Georgia Bulldogs number 4. From here on out, it's biscuits and gravy. No doubt about it. This is the easiest top 4 without question. So Georgia is my mind number 4. 2 and 3, I'm gonna have a nightmare thinking about it. We all know who number 1 is, so we'll figure it out. But number 4, it's got to be Georgia, right, MF?
It's Georgia, no doubt about it. This, like you said, this gets a little easier now. Yeah, this was unbelievable. Nothing more to say. So number 4 is Georgia. Bullock.
Yep, number 4 is the maiden Georgia Bulldogs. So yeah, nothing more to say. Let's move right on to the top 3.
Number 3, this is easy for me. Clemson Tigers.
Yes.
Look, I gotta say, the reason why was because Clemson, they handled their business. They played a great game. They beat up on South Carolina, which was expected, and they handled it the way that they needed it to handle it. So, I mean, they're rolling right along, going all the way to the ACC championship game, and Pitt, I think they're going to win that game. So, no, this was a big win for them, no doubt about it. Number 3 is the Clemson Tigers. Michael Bullock, it's yours.
Number 3 is the Clemson Tigers. Florio, it's yours.
Clemson, you got it. Clemson Tigers, number 3. A bit of a struggle for a while against South Carolina, but the Tigers completed a dominant finish, averaging 51 points in their final 5 games. Up next, Pittsburgh in the ACC championship game. So no doubt about that. Clemson is number 3. Number 2, the Ohio State University Buckeyes. Urban Meyer will promote the fact his team beat number 4 Michigan, which was sporting the number 1 defense in the biggest game of the year. What you won't hear, for the second straight year, the Buckeyes have the worst loss of any playoff contender, Purdue. Up next, pesky and scrappy Northwestern in the Big Ten Championship on Saturday night. Ohio State number 2. MF.
It's Ohio State. Yeah. Dwayne Haskins had a Heisman moment. I mean, he absolutely went insane in this game. And if you really think about it, where Ohio State won it was in the second half. Because if you really think about it, Michigan and Ohio State was really back and forth in the first half. Like, it was a dogfight. They won the war in the third quarter alone, scoring 17 unanswered, and then they just pulverized Michigan in the fourth, and that was the ball game. At that point, Michigan had no chance of winning the game. So, first half was what we expected the game to be. Second half, they absolutely just pulverized them into submission. So, number 2 is Ohio State. Michael Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, number 2 is Ohio State. Yeah, I mean, what they did in that second half was just what we call absolute domination. So, yeah, nothing more to say. Ohio State number 2. I think we all know who number 1 is.
Number 1 is the Alabama Crimson Tide, and let me tell you guys, for the first time this year, after that first half, they had me thinking, is Auburn actually going to pull this off? Well, second half, not so much. I mean, they absolutely got pulverized 35-7 in the second half alone. That's how bad this beatdown was. It basically it was a tale of two halves. Auburn gave Alabama everything they threw at them. They threw the kitchen sink at them in the first half and hung tough. If you remember, the score was 17-14 at halftime. And I know a lot of Bama fans were a little like, what the heck is going on? We should be blowing this team out. They're not that good. Well, you got them in the second half. But trust me, you're going to have a bigger challenge and a more bigger dogfight on your hands, no pun intended, on Saturday when you're in Atlanta for the SEC championship against that Made in Georgia Bulldogs. So, number one, Alabama. Michael Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, number one for me is Alabama as well. Florio, it's yours.
Bama. It's Bama. No doubt about it. That's what you call Iron Bowl revenge. Alabama won all 12 of its regular season games by at least 22 points after pounding Auburn. Up next, the SEC championship game against Georgia, and perhaps a final Heisman Trophy statement for Tua Tagovailoa. So, Alabama Crimson Tide closed it out at number one. They ran the table. They were number one each and every week. What a surprise. So, nothing more to say except that's it. Not just another week, but another season of Strictly Sports College Football Thursday in the books. We want to just take a moment and thank each and every one of you out there who tuned in all season long. And, you know, it was a fun ride, and we can't wait to do it again next September. But the fun's not over. I mean, let's not forget, next week, the Army-Navy game in Philadelphia. If it was a top 25 matchup, maybe we would decipher that into our NFL show next week. But nonetheless, there's that. And then, of course, sometime next month, probably like right around Christmas or whenever, maybe a little after, I know we'll probably have our big New Year's 6 preview show. And, that's when we'll next have our college football stuff. And then of course, the playoffs and the championship game and all that. So the fun ride. We enjoyed it each and every week, and we can't believe it's already done. But we definitely look forward to doing this again next year and the years beyond going forward. So that's it. So now we move on to tomorrow night, NFL Friday. Some great matchups to get into. Of course, the Tony and Mikey game of the week, the Anthony Florio MF game of the week. Sunday Night Football, the Los Angeles Chargers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's going to be hella fun. We can't wait to get into that one. Some other great matchups to look forward to. The Minnesota Vikings against the New England Patriots. That's going to be a great one in Foxborough. And, some other great games to get into. But those are, to me, the two big headliners going. And, of course, Washington Redskins, Philadelphia Eagles, NFC East battle, and Denver against Cincinnati, Baltimore against Atlanta, just to name a few. So, yeah, so that's it. And then, of course, the wrestling shows next week. So that's it. So until tomorrow night, 10:30 for NFL Friday, Anthony Florio here for good old MF Michael Fletcher, for Michael Bullock, and in spirit, Edie Woodson and Derek Ferrera. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah, throw it up, watching for style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed Friday, and until tomorrow night for NFL Friday, you've been watching the season finale, Strictly Sports College Football Thursday, right here on the Tone 25 on YouTube.com. For everybody who's been a part of this one. For now, Anthony Florio, so long, and bye, everybody, bye.